everyone. Hey there. It is hopefully you guys like our new format, our new slides, and we are really kicking it up a little bit. My name is Craig Blanchett, and I'm your host for today. And we are going to have quite a show tonight. We've got some amazing guests and talking a little bit about, we've got new graphics, we've got a new format. And the new format is going to be a more podcast interview style. If you notice, we also have some new three-dimensional awesome stuff happening with our slideshow or our presentation on Zoom. So you'll get to enjoy that as the evening unfolds. So welcome everybody. You can type in where you're from and maybe what your favorite superhero is. And we're going to get started. Actually, why don't you guys put in your favorite Olympic event? What do you love watching when it comes to the Olympics? All right, folks. And we are going to get right into it. So my name is Craig Blanchett, and I am an independent certified Optavia coach. That is a picture of me at the White House with FloJo, Florence Griffith Joyner. She's a world record holder in the 100 meters, and it's a record that still stands to this day. And that was me with some super hair, right? And tonight's topic is called getting unstuck with your health. And so, first of all, what we want to do is define what is being stuck, right? I've been talking about this a little bit, so I want to help you with some definitions of what it looks like when you're stuck. Because some people think they're stuck when they're only 3 pounds from their goal. And that could be true. But if you're within 10 pounds of your goal, we're going to talk about what that looks like. So here's some definitions. You're stuck if you've never achieved your original goal. Maybe you had 100 pounds to lose and you lost 50 and you've been stuck there. All right. That's one way to think about that. Maybe you got to your goal, but you gained more than 10 pounds back. And we're talking about being stuck when it comes to moving forward. Either weight on the scale or body composition is a really simple way of a objective um, metric that you can measure. Right? So there's other things you can measure, but this is one of them, right? So you made your goal, but you gained more than 10 pounds back. I personally think that if you got to your goal weight and you are maintaining within 10 pounds of your goal, you're not stuck. That's called killing it. And good job. Because if you're able to move that weight around within that 10 pounds and you're able to stay there, you've graduated into a lifestyle of habits of health, and congratulations to you. We're also going to talk a little bit about body composition and why that matters in addition to the total amount of weight that you weigh in at. All right. So there's a few definitions for all of you. Now we're going to get into what our topic tonight is when we're stuck. So I don't know if you guys realize this, but when you start your journey, I think when we all started our journey, it wasn't because we had this glistening dream of amazingness. I think we started our journey because there was something we just couldn't live with anymore. Right? So imagine that you're at the start line of a race and you have a version of yourself that's there at that starting line for you. And there's some encouragement happening, but it's negative encouragement. You might have seen something like, you're fat. You got out of the shower and you look at yourself and you're like, well, I've really let myself go. Or maybe you said, I cannot let this go anymore, right? Maybe you were in a photo, right? And you saw yourself in the photo and you're like, what happened? Who's that? Who's that lady with the double chin, right? Maybe you've said things to yourself like, what are you waiting for? Or you look awful in pictures. Or you're going to die early if you don't change, right? You don't deserve to feel good until you fix this. You're holding yourself back from everything you want. You always fail. Prove me wrong. So these are some things that are motivating to get started. All right. A lot of times we start our journey based upon something being bad enough to do something about it. And I'm going to tell you, there's nothing wrong with getting started that way, but it won't get you all the way to your goal. You have to have a really clear picture of where you're going. And so I'm going to bring on my first guest today. I got a little picture of here. This is the before Barb and the now Barb, but it's not the after Barb yet. And so let's bring Barb on tonight. Super excited to see you. Hey, Barb.
Hey,
So
Craig.
we had some really fun times talking a couple weeks ago. So I work with Barb. I'm one of the coaches that works with her. And I asked her a question really basically. I said, hey, Barb, is the number on the scale the one that's in your heart? And so let's talk a little bit about that journey and kind of where you were at. Because I wasn't sure if you were stuck or not. I was just asking a question like, hey, and the reason why I asked you that question, Barb, is I know how much weight you lost. And then I know that every time we had a meeting and you told us that number wasn't changing, it was staying the same. So I'm like, hey, so talk us a little bit about the number in your head, how much you did lose, and then what was that like to have that question asked?
Okay. Well, I was at 149 when we had this conversation, and my goal is 135. And my goal is 135 because that would be my optimal weight.
Where
So
did you start at, by the way?
I started at 265.
Okay. So just let that sink in, folks. 265. I'm going to show the picture of Barb again just so you can see
Mm.
that because it's pretty gnarly.
Oh, yeah,
Yep, that's the same shirt and the same share, but and it technically is the same Barb, but sure looks different.
yeah,
It must be the glasses, right, Barb?
yeah, right.
Yeah.
Exactly. Oh,
So I asked you where you're at, and you said you're at 149 or 147 or whatever it
yeah,
was. And you said I want to get to 135. That's my goal.
right.
And I said, well, Barb, I think 145 is your goal, or 147 is your goal. And we argued. No, it's not. Yes, it is. No, it's not. Yes, it is. And I said,
Yeah.
you know why I keep saying? Anyway, talk about that, how that happened from your side.
Well, I mean, he kept saying, no, Barb, you are at your goal because you've been here for 3 months. And I had been there for 3 months. And I said, no, 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 no. I want to be 135. And Craig's like, why do you want to be 135, Barb? And I'm like, because I set that goal and I'm going to get to it.
Yep, exactly. And one
Like,
of the neat
oh,
things about Barb in this situation is I asked her some questions and I had her tell them about the exercise. I had you write some stuff down and talk about how you had such a hard time with that process.
yeah. So he's like, okay, Barb, get out a pen and write down what your goal is. 145. And I started to write 145 and I could not write it. It
Mm.
would not write onto the paper. And I told him, I'm like, Craig, I am not 145. I'm not 145. I'm 135. And
Yep.
we just went on and on. And honestly, it actually now got into my brain that, oh, I really do want to get to 135. What have I been doing?
Mhm. Yeah. And that's exactly the point. I was trying to create something inside of her that had this tension because she wasn't where she wanted to be
Right.
somehow inside emotionally, but you were where you were willing to be, right? And
Apparently.
we talked, I said, Barb, I've got this idea and it's called Olympic training, right? And I said, Barb, do you want to go to the Barb Olympics? And she said, yes, I do, right? So
Yeah.
Olympic training is what that's actually a picture of my Olympic credential when I went to the Olympics back in 88. So
Yes.
that's Craig with hair, oddly enough. So the Olympic training, I said, well, you said, well, what is Olympic training? And so talk a little bit about this idea of Olympic training.
Well, I was so motivated because I thought to myself, he is an Olympian and I'm going to be on his team. Anyways, it got me pretty excited about doing it. And as I learned from Craig, that if I can look for something that I want to reach and get really excited about it, instead of having the pain pushing me like it had been doing until I felt pretty darn good at 145.
Mhm.
So I quit trying. I quit doing it. So now he got me all ramped up to go for the gold.
Yep, exact. Go for the gold. And the thing about it is that every one of you, you just put your name in front of it. You know, it's the Craig Olympics, it's the Amy Olympics, it's the Barb Olympics, right? And when I was training for the Olympics, for reals, back in the day, I would go to family events and I would go to parties that were, you know, that my friends and people were going to. And I noticed it was almost like I looked around and I saw a bunch of people eating things. And I asked myself a question. Are any of these people training for the Olympics? The answer was no. And so I said, well, that's why they're eating those things.
Right.
They're not training for the Olympics. I am. And the reason why I'm not eating what everybody else is eating is because I want to go, I want to perform well. And so when you get to a party, so Barb, when you go to a party, if you're training for the Barb Olympics, what you're eating is going to look different from all the non-Olympians around you.
Yes.
Right?
And
They're
I love
training
that.
not to go to the Olympics, and you're training to go to the Barb Olympics, the Sylvie Olympics, the Marla Olympics, the Bethany Olympics. I hear it all. I hear you guys. I see you guys talking. Fantastic. And so instead of running from, so think about this. When Barb started her journey, there was a version of herself that was at that start line,
Yeah.
and she was being motivated by negative, by uncomfortable things. And the neat thing about, I said, Barb, you know what you did? You smoked, I'll just call you Fat Barb, right? You smoked her. She's back there at the start line and you left her in the dust.
Right.
But the problem with leaving your fat self in the dust is there's no more motivation. You can't hear the negative because it ain't there because you're looking pretty good, right? But you're
Right.
still not where you wanted to go. And I said, Barb, what if there was another version of you and you need to learn how to listen for her voice? And her voice is this version of you that's at the finish line and she's saying, you're worth it. I believe in us. Focus. Keep going. You've come so far. Don't stop.
Right.
Hey, Barb, you're stronger than you think. Eye on the prize. Go. You're unstoppable. Dig deep. Almost there. This is your moment. Owning it. And so you started to figure out, well, what if I'm actually looking to chase something versus run from something? Talk
Right.
about that transition that happened in your head during that.
Well, as soon as you pointed it out, it made so much sense, because I didn't know why I was stuck. I mean, and clearly I was not happy about being stuck, right? So when you told me that, instantly I was like, yeah, I get that. And then you know what really got me, Craig, is you go, Barb, if you're going to the Olympics, do you want to suck at the Olympics? And I was like, no, I'm not gonna suck at the Olympics. I'm going for gold.
That's
So the
right.
whole thing, it was just a mental shift that happened because it was suggested to me that I needed to look for something, have somebody rooting me on, and I feel like I'm being rooted and supported by somebody like you
Mhm.
and others is amazing.
Well, and it was also this tapping into the version of yourself that hadn't materialized yet. And so Barb and I said, well, Barb, to make sure that this 13 pounds, whatever it is realistic, you need to go get a body composition test
Yes.
because the number on the scale might not have been a healthy number for her. 135 may have been too lean. I don't know. So she went over and got a body composition test, and she came back that you was it 25% body fat at 135, something like
Yeah.
that.
Hmm.
Yeah. So immediately when I heard about that number, because for women, all of you women out there, you can write this number down, 20%, 30%, somewhere in that range is healthy for you. And if you're a man, subtract 10%. Men is 10 to 20, right? And so you have this range of what's healthy. And you can get extreme and you can really go for, closer to that maybe 18, 19%, right? Um, but I wanted to make sure that the number she had in her head was body composition wise within the healthy range. And it was 25%, right in the middle of the zone, 13.7 pounds. And just like, fantastic, right? So then we put together a protocol of what to eat and how to move forward with that. But the main thing is she was eating with intention,
Right.
not just to solve a problem, hunger, boredom,
Mhm.
loneliness, stress. She was eating on purpose
Yes.
because she was training for the Olympics, the Barb Olympics. And she doesn't want to suck at the Olympics.
Yes. Correct. I will not suck at the Olympics,
That's
Craig.
right.
Not
And
going to
so since then, you were stuck at 149 for 3 months. So
happen.
let's just all kind of embrace this. Every one of you that wakes up in the morning, and I imagine you did this too, Barb, you got up in the morning and you planned on having an Olympic eating day. And at
Right.
some point in the day, it didn't happen.
Right.
For 3 months, so that's 30, 60, 90 times you were practicing sucking, right?
Right.
Because the fat lady that you used to be is not around anymore. You are not fat anymore, Barb. You're killing it.
And I was only sucking a little bit.
Right?
I was not sucking a lot,
Yep.
but
But
never.
you still wanted this 135 number. We measured it and figured out that that was healthy for you. And now you started chasing. And so what's happened since then as you're chasing after something and listening for that gold medalist, Barb?
Well, what's happening is I'm down to 141 in just a short time.
Hmm.
And I also learned something. Every time I look at the scale, it doesn't have to be about the point 0.7 and the point 0.6 and all these little bitty things. Because if you weigh yourself every day, your body's doing all this stuff. I might weigh myself in the morning at 6 a.m. and it's one thing. And I weighed myself during this competition. I weighed myself at 10 a.m. and I'm 3 pounds down. So I wonder if I wasn't weighing every day, if I wouldn't be a little bit less stressed out when I see those numbers. So
Yeah. And we're
the
going to talk a
numbers
little
thing,
bit about weighing. If you're training for the Olympics, you need a lot of data. And
right?
that data is telling you how to train and if what you're doing is effective. Now, if your times are getting slower or your weight is going up, sometimes you make an adjustment, sometimes you don't. That's why you want to work with your coach on this. But for all of you that are weighing yourself, the number that counts is a 7 day differential.
Yeah.
The one that counts is 7 days from now. Now, you can get a lot of data in those in between days, but you want to see did it go up, down, or stay the same within a 7 day window.
Right.
And if you can't handle the truth at day two, don't weigh yourself.
Right.
Just stay away. Go for the 7 day differential. So
Yeah. And I went
fantastic.
through a lot of that, not being able to handle that, didn't I? And then
Yeah.
you said, Barb, it's just
Yep.
data. I'm like,
Well, as an Olympian, you got to look at the data, and sometimes the data tells you things you didn't want to hear.
right.
And sometimes it tells you things you do want to hear, but both are opportunities to grow better
Right.
and refine yourself. Go for the gold. Bust it out. Get after it. Barb, I'm so excited for you. I know you're
I'm
going to
so
get the
excited.
gold. I know you are. All right. So next up, we've got this idea chasing after versus running from. And by the way, it requires a new skill to be developed. When you're chasing after something and you've only been accustomed to running from, you're going to have to build a new skill. You're going to have to tune in your ears to listen for that future version of yourself that's at that finish line and it's going, you got this. Come on. Keep it up. I see you. You're doing good work. Now we're going to transition here from a story I like going from good to great. And when people are within that 10 pounds or they're within that goal and they're sharpening, I call it polishing your sports car. And a couple of people that are polishing their sports car right now are Amy and Mike Mills. And you can see here's the before, during, and then the polish, right? Mike's the same way. He's not out of shape. Nobody would look at him and say, man, that guy's overweight. But the guy on the right's got a little polish. You know what I'm saying? Little shadows on those triceps. And what's up with the veins in the forearms? Anyway, I want to bring on my friends here, Mike and Amy Mills. Guys, you guys are fantastic. And so we were talking about this concept, and you live in a pretty good zone. Like you got to the goal. And then you're like, yeah, but we're chasing something. And I'm like, what? Talk about that. So tell us a little bit about how you're using certain events to chase after it to find that polish.
Yeah. Go ahead, Amy. You go for it.
No, well, today we did, I mean, we've been, that was we started that journey in 23. And first time ever. We got in a bunch of coaching groups and they asked us and we were like, yes. And we had no idea. And it was the best thing ever because, we had that conversation of like, who's that future self? Who's that person you're going to meet at that goal line? And that's the part that we had no idea at first. And then we were both turning 50. And I thought, you know what? Everyone says, oh, once you turn 50, it's really downhill from there. And I was like, no, it's not. No. We have this system now and it has changed our life that I know it's not downhill. It just keeps getting better and better. And we decided
To be in pursuit. And for the record, I'm not 50 yet.
well,
No,
but
not that it matters.
fun,
But
you
we
will
we
be.
really went into this mode of what could we create?
Yeah.
What could be possible? And so what we've learned is that the process had so much to teach us,
Hmm.
and we really were in this phase of focusing on what we were creating. And the reason that this kind of ties in is because Amy and I are going on another run.
Yeah.
And we are entering our Olympics again on June 21st. And so today was the first day of starting this next polish, this next run. And it really is about creating. What can we create? And Dr. A talks about this in the life book, the creator and the creation. And I really do find that whenever we can really tap into what it is we're creating and get a really clear vision and emotional connection to what that is, that every day we're not waking up fighting against something, we're waking up creating something. And so every day between now and June 21st, we're going to be waking up and all of our decisions are going to be related to what are we creating on June 21st. And it's fun. It really is. The creative process is a fun and challenging process.
Yeah. Well, and I love what you said there because you're not trying to suck less. You're going for the gold, right? And
Yeah.
I love how it's what am I creating and who am I becoming to create that? And so, like I said, anybody would look at you. Yes, you've got the basics to health down well. And yet you're using this idea of chasing something, chasing a higher goal. Now, one of the things about achieving that is you're not going to probably you don't live in Olympic form all year round. You chase after something sometimes for years. For me, I chased after that for 4 years for a 4 minute race. That's a year per minute, right? And it was worth it, right? And so for you guys, you're chasing after this thing. And so it's an event, it's a competition, it's related to body composition and all these kind of things. And so it's giving you that when you wake up, you're eating on purpose, right? And so talk a little bit more about what you guys are, what you're learning in this second run about how it's similar, but maybe different.
Yeah. Well, I can tell you one of the things that I'm already learning is that knowing doing this once, you know what it takes. I can only assume this for an Olympian too. Like you knew the effort it took to get there one time, right? And sort of the naivety of the first journey was healthy. And this time I know, right? It's because what we're heading into is complete structure. Everything that we do will be in full intentionality of being able to create the physique we desire
Well,
for
it's going to
that.
serve the goal you want. Will it make the boat go faster? I believe we talked about recently. Will it make the muscles shine? Will it make the whatever, the engine primed? All that.
Well, and I think for us too, it really ties in to our programs, right? Like we have a coach, we have somebody that is in the race with us, that's going to that finish line with us together, and they know where we want to go, what we want to accomplish. And without that accountability, it would be really hard to do this by ourselves. We have a structured meal plan. We have what we are going to eat. We have our everything laid out and how we do that. We have a system for mindset and because it's not easy every day, and we have something to lean into for that. And then we have an amazing community that we get to also combine and know the same struggles and conversations and where we're going and what we're doing.
And, all of our Olympics or all of our good to great is different.
Yes.
Right? Good to great for us
Yeah.
6 years ago when we started this journey is different than our good to great today.
That's right.
And so wherever you are, you can still use this process, right? Dr. A in the Life book calls it conflict resolution, right? When we're trying to run from a problem. But once we resolve the problem, fitting into the genes or whatever it is, then what helps us go? That's the creative process of looking out into the future, leading from the future, acting in the
Yes.
now, and being willing to give up the good for the great.
Yep.
Right.
Well, and that's just the idea. You really weren't trying to fit into the genes. You were trying to prevent the discomfort from not being able to do them. You
Yeah.
weren't chasing something, you were running from your fatness. You were running from the discomfort, right? And the point of this whole topic is that gets you to a certain place. But if you're stuck, how to get unstuck is you need to listen to the voice that's calling you to it, because the voice that caused you to run from it, you silenced. So I want you guys to think about, the gap in the gain. Look at how far you've come, right?
Mhm.
And now, if you're stuck, how to get unstuck? Change your focus. Start focusing on the future self, who you're going to have to become to be there. That's what Barb's doing for this, what she got 6 pounds to go now, right? And then you guys are obviously going from that good place and you're just playing with that refinement. And a strategy you can all use is use events to motivate. You got a cruise coming up. You got a wedding coming up. These are wonderful things to chase after. 5K, a hike, a new grandchild. But use events that are out in the future that you desire that is going to cause you to grow and be healthier. And just keep doing that. Skiing and hiking. Think of all those things. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. Did you have one more thing, Mike?
Well, I was just going to say, Craig, one of the things that happens when you go on a run like that is it elevates your set point.
Yes.
It,
the
it,
next
it
one.
elevates your ability to be in that structure. And each time you do it, you elevate your set point to another level.
Yep, I love it. That's so good. All right, guys. So we've got next week. Whoops. We've got next week. What we're going to do is we're going to talk about the death of diets going down with the keto and the juice and the cauliflower and the whatever, the cabbage, right? The death of diets. And it's going to be hosted by Dr. A and David Bush, the famous David Bush. That's on March 10th, and we are looking forward to seeing you then. Thanks and good night, everybody.
Jump.